Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Intuition Activation Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, a spiritual medium and intuitive coach, and I'm so excited that you're here to join me for this intuitive development journey. Hi, you guys. Oh my goodness. I am so excited for this week's episode. This has been something that I have been wanting to bring to this audience for a very long time. We have an amazing guest on the show. His name is Nick Musica, and I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, but he is an animal communicator or an animal medium. And this is something I've been wanting to share with you guys for a long time or wanting to have a guest on for, or an expert on for a long time, because people always ask me about this. People ask me if I can communicate with their pets, and I have clients, and I've done it, seldomly, sporadically with clients and for clients. I always tell them this is not my strong suit, but I'm always willing to try. It's something that we dove into a couple weeks ago in the intuition activation community with actually surprisingly a lot of success given my lack of experience. And this is something that I really wanted to dive a little bit more into, learn a little bit more about. And Nick definitely delivered. He shares with us everything you need to know about what it means to communicate with animals. And there were so many aha moments that I had from this conversation. I learned so much about what it really means to have an animal that belongs to you, that it is in your home, and how they really are here to love on us and serve us in a lot of ways. And serve us sounds like a hard thing. I want to say love and care for us is a better way, and how much our animals really are a reflection and a mirror of how we're showing up in the world, and that our animals really can be a guidepost and a guide, if you will, to help bring us back to alignment and back to our authenticity. Similarly, so in the way that our spirit guides can be. And it was just so eye-opening for me to learn that. I think that I simplified what communicating with animals really was. And I've learned so much. And what I really kind of find to be the underlying point here is, and what Nick really points out here in this episode, is that your animals, they are really here. They really are here to bring you back into alignment. But in our attempts to connect and communicate with animals is always bringing it back to what is it that I need most. And so we always come in with an agenda, and it's very similar when we connect with spirit guides. We come in with an agenda, questions that we have, problems we want to solve. And in the end, the animals, they just show us who we really are and how we're showing up in this world, and how we can realign and reassess and come back to center. And yeah, Nick is just such a shining example of how everything in the world can maybe be conspiring for your highest good. And so I'm so excited for you to dive into this episode. But before we do, I did a little intuitive development exercise with you guys last week, or last week's episode, outlining or trying to get you to a place where you could figure out what it was that my family did for the Canada Day July 1st holiday. And so if you didn't do that meditation, skip ahead so you don't hear the answer, because spoiler alert, I'm about to tell you what we did. If you did that meditation, I'm going to share with you what it was that we did. And we went actually to a beach for the day. So we went to Wasaga Beach, which is actually I don't know if it's the world's, but definitely the country's largest freshwater beach. It's like 25 or 30 kilometers of beach stretched along a beautiful bay. And it's really, really shallow, and the sandbars go out really far. So it's really, really fun for the kids because the water's so shallow and you can walk so far out, and it never really goes above your knees. And so the water's warm, and it's fun for our little kids, and they absolutely love it. Just this long stretch of beach. And it just so happened that the day that we went, or the specific part of the beach we went to, there was almost nobody there except us. It was really quiet, and the scenery was stunning, and we just had a really beautiful day. We brought a picnic, and we stayed there for the majority of the day. We just sat on the beach and played in the water and walked along the beach and dug holes and built sandcastles. And yeah, if you guys follow me on Instagram, we spend most of our summer by a beach, but we don't often go to this one. So it was a really beautiful day. So if you got anything related to us being by the water, being by the sand, doing something by the lake, then you are absolutely correct. That is what we did on the July 1st holiday. So definitely reach out to me on Instagram and let me know if that is something that you downloaded from the meditation last week. Let me know if you were right and if you got some confirmation. And of course, if you want to get more confirmation on the things that you are channeling and to develop a stronger trust in your intuitive abilities, there is no better place to do that than in the intuition activation community. Definitely come and join us in there. We practice every Thursday and we do things where we ask questions and allow ourselves to channel through for other people, and they can offer you immediate confirmation that the things that you are channeling resonate with them and make sense for them. And that's the best way to develop your trust muscle. So definitely come and join us over there. Links in the show notes. And otherwise, I am so excited to introduce to you the amazing animal communicator, Nick, and I'll catch you guys on the other side. Well, welcome, Nick, to the Intuition Activation Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thanks, Jessica. Super stoked to be here today.
Yeah. And I was just telling you before we hit record
Yeah.
here that I am super, super excited to have an animal communicator, an animal medium here on the podcast, because while it is something that I have dabbled in and something that we explore sort of in my intuition activation community, it's not something I'm well versed in. It's not something that I feel like I'm an expert in. And so I'm so excited to have you here to just teach us all of the things and tell us all of the things.
Yeah.
So great to have you here.
Yeah.
But before we dive in, the question I always love to ask my guests when they first come in is, what does intuition mean to you?
Yeah. So I think and it is I think it's a great question, meaning to you. It's a very personal definition. And I think it's based on your experience, really, right? So there's like a broader, what people talk about, and then there's what I experience. And so for me, the experience is animals, and a lot of it is animals. And I wasn't anticipating this. It's it's whatever the animals bring in as well. And we were talking a little bit beforehand. And so like people come to you for a specific reason and then you're like, oh, like grandma showed up. She had something to say. And right. So like it'll just sort of evolve as we're talking. You'll feel a little shift, like the wind sort of changes, for people who don't necessarily feel the energy shifting. Like there's a sort of a wind shift, if you will. And you're like, oh, who's here? And then someone else shows up. And so I've had some strange things show up that I just never expected to show up. And so intuition has an evolving definition, but I think at the very, very core base of it that we can all relate to, I think, is there is definitely, I mean, the gut feel of it all, right? Like there's a feel to it very frequently. And that feel could be in very different flavors. It could just be something just doesn't feel like it's in alignment. It could be a voice or a push. And for anyone listening, if this sounds like crazy talk, and it could for some people, it certainly did for me for a while. It's everyone has access to this if you want it. And so there's definitely a accessibility aspect to it that's tied to intention for a lot of folks, or how broadly it opens is certainly tied to intention for folks.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. And I love that. I think you're right. It's definitely an ever-changing definition as you experience different things from it, right? And so definitely this
Yeah.
big, unseen, unknown kind of thing that kind of changes as you experience
Yeah,
it.
and so fun, super fun. It's an aspect like if you haven't experienced this, man, it's like everything makes so much more sense after you do. After you get through at least for me, after you get through wonky time of what's going on in the world, like who do I talk to about this? Like, no one's going to believe this shit, right? And it is such a wonderful thing when you finally settle into it, sort of like we did at the top of this, like with the meditation. We came into it like this with this energy, and then it settles into a certain place where you can function from it.
Yeah, absolutely. So beautiful. Well, I want to dive into all of the things that you do, but I feel like it's always so interesting for my listeners and for me to sort of know that for you specifically, and I know this was also the case for
Mhm.
myself, Now you're an animal medium by trade, but I'm guessing that this was not something you did and knew about, that you were born into this and you just knew from day one that this is what you were going to do and this is why you came onto this planet. And so I would love if you could start by just sharing a little bit about what exactly it is that you do now, and then can you rewind all the way back for us, even further back to your discovery to this, but even your childhood? Was this something that was part of your vocabulary growing up? And how did you find your way to this profession?
Yeah, yeah, I did not come screaming out of the womb saying I talk to animals. Like that was not my story, right? I've read those stories. That was not mine. Mine is more of a suppression, and then and then event, and then oh, that's true, right? And so here's how that happened: is a couple of years ago, my wife and I go to the psychic fair in Carlsbad, where we live in California. And on a whim, and I say on a whim because there are no coincidences, right? Like in hindsight, you go, oh, now I see how each and every dot connected. But at the time, you go, oh, because reasons. Let's go. We have 10 minutes. Let's go, right? And so we go to the psychic fair and we walk around. We don't see anyone we like. And then we approach the floor from the opposite direction. And like right in front of us, there's this sign that says psychic medium Adelita. And up until this point, I've been to psychics before. Mediumship just wasn't a thing for me. It's just a little too far fetched for me at the time. At the time, it was, and for some reason, I also thought this woman would be great for my wife, whose mother passed about 2 months prior. So, so these two disconnected dots are somehow lining up to make sense in my little brain. And I say, hey, Jill, what do you think about her? And my wife says, that sounds great. Why don't you go first? I'm thinking I'm sitting down for 15 minutes being a supportive husband. I'm really looking forward to what my wife had, her time with Adelita, right? But I sit down and she starts by drawing this heart. Adelita starts by drawing a heart. She says, this is either a former romantic relationship or it's an animal. And she circles animal. Okay. And the message is, you did too much. And I'm like, oh, it's Henry. It's my cat Henry, who was 22 when he passed.
Mm.
The last 2 years of his life, back and forth to the vet, checking food, water, blood work, like all the things you can possibly check for an aging cat, 21, 22 at the time, right? To see how we can alleviate symptoms, because we're not solving problems, right? We know what the end story is going to be, but we're like, how do we make things comfortable? And I got emotional. I was just like a little 12-year-old girl whose brother like ripped off her favorite Barbie doll's head, right? Like I was just a mess. And she's continuing, but now I'm catching up to the reality of didn't believe this thing, and now we're on the ride. We're totally on the ride. And she goes, my guides are now showing me Dr. Doolittle. They're showing me that you can talk to animals and it's going to be easy for you. And I thought, 100%. I have no reason to think this is true, but I've never heard anything more truthful in my life. What, right? Like there's just no doubt about it. And so I go home and I figure, well, if it's going to be easy, I'm just going to do my typical meditation, but I'll just find my living cat, Chucky, right? Like it's easy. It should be. And I drop in and I see this big bright light, and it's the type of light you would associate with like spirit guides or angels or like a higher level being of some kind. And my first thought is absolutely not. Not my cat. He poops in a box, sometimes on the floor. He's not a high level being. Right? This is not what's happening. And so I call her up and I go, easy, like this isn't even working. And she goes, okay, well, you're expecting to have information show up in a very specific way, and that is not how this works. Just be the channel. What you get is what you get. Okay, fair enough. So I get all these animal communication books, and I get a couple of animal communication set up with folks like on Zoom like this. I'm trying to figure out how any of this works, right? What does it look like? How does it work? I have no idea. And as I step away from my dining room table one day to go to one of these sessions with an animal communicator, I get this quick flash of a scene from the end of Return of the Jedi. And I'm seeing the ghost of Obi-Wan and Yoda. And I know it's coming from Chucky. But that's not the crazy part. The crazy part is I'm being shown a student-teacher relationship, and I'm the student and he's the teacher. Like it's super clear, which makes that big bright light. That was the introduction that I completely blew off, right? And so I get on the line with the animal communicator, and she's like, "You here for Chucky?" Uh-huh. "Do you know who he is to you?" And now we're talking about, for the next 30-ish minutes, He's came here to help open you up and what all that means and what it could look like and. So that was the latest and greatest iteration of, sort of getting tapped on the shoulder.
Wow. Okay. There's so much to unpack here. First of all, that's really, really cool. But I almost want to rewind you a little bit further than that because you're
Yeah.
saying that you had actually been to psychics before,
Hmm.
and that you already seem to have been a little bit more well versed in like meditation, and you recognize this
Hmm.
light. So it almost feels like for you, like animal communication was maybe that last puzzle piece. But was there sort of a spiritual awakening? Because I think you had mentioned there's definitely some sort of experience with San Pedro as well. Was that later? When did
Yeah.
that happen? What sort of brought you to even a place of spirituality? Was this something that you even were raised with? Like, was that talked about in your home? Why was it normal
All,
for you to go
all,
to
all, all
psychics?
good questions. All good questions. So I grew up, I went to Catholic school for 12 years.
Okay.
12 years. And I wouldn't say we were heavily Catholic, but that was the belief system I grew up in, right? And and I also remember my mother going to see a psychic when I was, I don't know, 14, 15, something like that. Too young to drive because I remember thinking when I get my license, I want to go see Psychic Jim. That was like on the top of my list of things to do. Go to the beach and see Psychic Jim, right? So so I did. And I remember one day I went to him a few times, and I remember one day asking him, "Why do I feel stoned walking out after we have a session? I don't understand."
Mm,
And his response was, "Well, because you go deep into the meditation." And at the time, I didn't know what that meant, but I go, "Oh, okay, great." Like it sort of made sense. Like he said it like it made sense. And so I'm having this experience, but I also like it's how do you like I really didn't understand it. I didn't understand it until years later where I'm like, oh, now I'm feeling high as a kite by only doing a meditation. This is what he was talking about, right? There's this euphoric feel sometimes
yeah,
to it.
absolutely. Hmm.
Right. And so now that makes sense.
Okay.
And and I don't know if it was then with the sessions with him that something started to open up. And also around that time, I experimented a little bit with mushrooms and LSD, and so that'll change things. That could have opened things up a little bit, like not a lot, but one with this and one with that, one the other thing,
Absolutely.
and and then this was very clear when I was 20. I started to have what I've come to learn to be clairvoyant dreams.
Okay.
So I would dream something like this, not material at all, right? Nothing meaningful about it. I would dream of seeing a random person on a random corner in a random city I've never been to before. And then at some point, I'm driving by that person on that corner in that city, and I'm like, this feels like time travel. Like that's
Yeah.
the best thing I can equate it to. And it would happen every once in a while, right? And there's no one, these conversations are not a thing. The best we had when I was growing up was some weird section of Barnes and Nobles or Borders books that had like Edgar Casey books, and they had self-help, and they had also like Anton LaVey's Black Bible, right? Like the guy who created Satanism. Like so like that was the best we had at the time. So there weren't any conversations like this. There was no people exploring it together.
Mhm.
So I kept that in my pocket for a very long time. And then in 2017, I decided I want to understand what these dreams are about. And my intention was really let me understand it, wrap it up in a bow, move on with my day.
Mhm.
Also, 2017 was the year that I discovered San Pedro. 2017 was also the year at the first San Pedro event I met a buddy, now a buddy who was a teacher at the time, teacher to me at the time, and still is. And he helped me with meditation and energy, and all that started to open up, right? So when I went to Adelita and she goes, and it's going to be easy for you, I was like, well, the only reason I feel like it's easy is because in 2017, these things started to be a regular rhythm for me.
Mm,
Off on, not on a daily basis. Weeks would go by, months would go by at some point, right? For meditation to go missing, but it started there.
yeah.
And so that opened, and then the San Pedro happened, right? And so every 6 to 12 months, I'm spending time with the cactus. So that once something opens, like once you like there's a meme for surfing, right? It's like once you catch the first wave, like you're hooked. And
Yeah.
so like once you have an experience, once it's open, it doesn't completely close, right? There's something that remains. And so now now it's like, well, if it's not going to completely close, is this going to be the new normal or is this going to be the new normal, the expansion, right? And I think there's a timing aspect to it. I think there's an intention aspect to it. I think there's a cleanliness aspect to it. And when cleanliness, like your intention of it, your good intention to it. It's not muddied. You're not going to use it for manipulation. There's a higher aspect to it. And that's when people go, okay, or guides go, okay, so let's get this guy on board here. Now's the time for the work.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds to me like for you, it was maybe it was always really within you. And that's perhaps where that level of curiosity kept coming up of like, let me just like something about this feels good. And I just want to keep kind of like dipping my toe in the water, just a little bit more, a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I was always interested in the topic.
Mhm.
Always, always, always. I remember picking up like, an Edgar Casey book who, for folks not familiar with him, I think he died in the 50s, but he was an American mystic, and he would give people readings. He would go into this trance and give people readings, and he did quite a few of them, and they were wildly accurate. So I remember reading, and his readings are now authors would take the readings, find themes, and then produce books around it. So Edgar Casey and pick the theme. And the first one that I picked up was Edgar Casey and Atlantis, the lost city of Atlantis. And I was like, really? This is a thing? And I remember reading the phrase reincarnation for the first time. Remember Catholic school,
Right.
right?
So not really taught at all, if anything, just
Not really. Right. Not a thing unless it was religions of the world and it was like, a one-liner and then we kept on going. But
Yeah,
this was the first time I really spent time with the word and I thought, I mean, this makes a lot of sense to me. It was
right.
one of those things that lands and you go, I don't know what, how come I'm learning about this for the first time now? Like this feels like this should have been a fundamental learning,
Hmm.
right? That's how it felt.
Yeah.
So it's been present for a while.
Mhm.
And I've read stories of people having experiences and then for whatever reason, when they say, did you see that person walking over there? And someone goes, no. And now they know that they're having an experience that other people aren't and they shove it down, right? I
Mhm.
remember having an experience and I was like, oh, I don't like feeling like this. It was a very
Yep,
empathetic, an
empathic.
experience you would have as an empath,
There you go.
that, right? And I remember going, oh, I don't like knowing this. I don't because there's a feeling to the knowing of it. And I was like, it doesn't feel good. And I remember very specifically that feeling.
Mm,
And and I think that probably stuffed things down for quite a bit.
okay. And so, I mean, typically when we talk to somebody who, has embraced their intuition, their intuitive abilities, and I know even for my story, this has been the truth, that often there's sort of like my life kind of feels like maybe I've hit all of these milestones and either we hit a rock bottom moment where suddenly we like everything's ripped away from us and we have to start searching for meaning, or there's sort of this feeling of how did I paint myself into this corner of mundane life and there's got to be something more to my life. And then we start searching for something more as well. What would you say it was that sort of called you to? Was it just genuine curiosity, or were you sort of not loving your life? Like, what was it that called you maybe to
Yeah.
even engage in the San Pedro in the first place, or even explore? Like, when this medium told you, like, you're going to be an animal medium, right? Like, if someone who is completely content with their life maybe would have just been like, forget that, right? Like I'm happy, right? So what were you doing at the time? What was your profession? Was there something that was sort of niggling away at you, maybe your intuition, if you will, trying to push you
Yeah.
towards something else?
Mundane is a wonderful word to use. And here's how it showed up. So in 2017, when I met my now budding, then teacher, still teacher, right? Um, he ran me through something called the Harrison assessment. It's a behavioral assessment. It measures 175 characteristics, stacks, ranks them. I prefer doing this. I don't prefer doing that.
Okay.
Right. So
Mhm.
you're seeing your operating system in front of you. It's very humbling and super insightful. And
Okay.
my first highest rated characteristic was want stable career, right? And
Right.
he's like, we should talk about that. And I still tell him this. I said, and what I was thinking was, what else you got? Like I'm okay paying my bills. Like what else you have?
Mhm.
And he goes, well, let's take a look at your risk score.
Okay.
And he's flipping through the the um, the assessment, and I'm thinking, like, what are you not getting? Like it's going to be low. What are you not getting?
Yeah.
And he goes, it's a 2.4, and it's on a scale of 2 to 10, right?
Okay.
So six is in the middle, right? So 2.4, just above complete 100% avoidance,
Right.
right? And and he goes, well, with these two scores, like, what are your options? What does this afford you? And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't understand. He goes, well, you're tied into someone else's system. You're an employee for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
And I'm still not getting it. And he goes, well, what? Imagine if the 2.4 was a 3, or if it was a 4, or it was a 5. What opportunities would that afford you? Working at a startup, working at a smaller company, a bigger company, working for yourself, whatever it was, right? He's just throwing the options out there. And now my mind is going, oh shit. Now I'm picking up what you're laying down, right? This is terrible. This is terrible. And and at the time, I was at a wonderful employer. Like I was there for a total of 6 years.
What were you
We
doing?
were seven. Yeah, I was the SEO manager at a
Okay.
little publishing company.
Okay. All right.
We started with 7 people, grew to 40 people, right? Like, quarterly bonuses, block and a half away from the beach. Like it was dream job in San Diego in many respects. And I remember talking to my parents, and I'm like, I'm a little bored. I think I need a new job.
Mm.
And I started to hear back, want stable career. What's wrong with your job? You love your job. They bring in lunch, quarterly celebrations, a block and a half away from the beach. You surf at lunch. And I'm like, oh, so want stable career isn't even mine. It's my
Mhm.
conditioning. This is fantastic. What else in this report is not even mine? I don't even know what mine is at this point,
Mhm.
right? So I continue this coaching with David, and there was a moment in time where and keep in mind stable career, right? So like I'm shedding this, but you don't walk away from these things overnight.
Yeah.
And he's coaching me, and I come back, and he would give me homework every week. I requested it, and I come back the next week, and he says, "So how'd it go?" I said, I tried all the things we talked about. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. And he goes, well, now you know. I said, now I know what? You're out of alignment with your job. And I was like, oh shit. Like this is the thing that I thought I loved the most, right? And now it's unraveling.
Right.
It is mundane. It
Mm.
feels 100% mundane to the point of, we used to every Monday morning, every day, we would have everyone in a circle just to say good morning. We're starting the day, and now we go start the day. This big circle, so 7 people to 20 people to 40 people on this concrete slab. And there was one morning someone made a joke, and it was funny, it was humorous, but I didn't laugh, and I heard the laughs, and for me, it felt like a laugh track. I'm now out of the system, right? The job is not the problem. The
Yeah.
people I work with are not the problem. None of that's the problem. I'm now the problem.
Mhm.
I got to do something about this problem, right? So that led me down a path of what am I doing? What I want? What you're right. That whole mundaneness started to shake off. And I still do SEO. I run a little agency, but it's my agency,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And then the animal showed up. It's like, well, now I got to figure that out and see because that's part of my in a very broad sense, that is my agency. I mean, literally my personal agency, right? And so now I get to figure out how to do that and for who and the coaching and all the things that come along with it. And the technical skills help to build your own website,
Right. There you go.
right?
And to some extent, I would even say that perhaps that was your intuition kind of sending little nudges all along. Call it your intuition, call it your spirit guides, right? Like, hey,
Totally.
wake up, right?
Yes.
Something's not
Yeah.
right here, right? Which would then push you even more towards your path. And I mean, that's something I really love to preach here is that, even if you're not yet fully aware of your spirit guides. They're all, and you're not connecting to them actively. Like they're working in the background relentlessly, right?
Absolutely.
And dropping those little hints and signs and nudges and
Oh my goodness.
just keep redirecting until you finally wake up and get the message, right?
Yes. Yeah. And the biggest disservice you can do is ignore them and chalk them up to be coincidence,
Mhm.
right? Like, how many times have you or anyone else listening has picked up the phone and you're like, oh my goodness, I was just thinking about X, Y, and Z, or or vice versa, right? That is such a simple version of what we're talking about, but I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? So when I'm working with folks around opening up their intuition, like rule number one, there are no coincidences. You
Yeah.
can't do anything with coincidences. You can't do anything with weird. You just get more weird and more coincidences. But once you go, oh, there's signs or signals, there's synergies. Well, what's the story that they're weaving?
Hmm.
Take a look at it, see what it's all about,
Yeah.
versus just brushing it off. Again, how many times can you brush it off?
Right.
At some point, you can't.
Right. And I would even say at some point, your guides are going to intervene so much that you might get pushed out of the way, right? They're
That's
going to
right.
rock bottom you and change your circumstances until you have no choice but to get the message, right? So it
Yes.
helps to listen when it's a quiet little nudge as opposed to getting shoved into it.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes there is a shove, like when there's a whole lot of resistance, you're like, I don't know, I'm not quite sure. It's, if you've ever been pushed hard in the back and then suddenly you're in the pool, right? Like maybe dive in yourself.
Yeah,
Maybe do that.
maybe dive in. Yeah. So fun. I do want to switch gears just a little bit because I'm so excited to pick your brain on the mediumship side of things. And
Yeah.
I really am curious, what does the experience of mediumship look like for you? Because in my own personal experience, I would say that it feels, and I definitely have more experience with connecting with spirit guides, but I've definitely dabbled in mediumship in, connecting to loved ones and also animals. And I do find the experiences somewhat separate. Like there are differences. And at least for me, I find the mediumship side of things connecting to animals and loved ones to be a lot more of a visual experience, a clairvoyance experience, a lot more visuals, a lot less talking, I would say.
Huh.
But maybe that's just because I'm less well versed in it. So I'm curious, what
Yeah.
does it look and feel like for you to experience, connecting with animals? Are they like talking to you? Do you look like Dr. Doolittle? Like, what does this feel like and look like for you?
Oh, it's so much fun. Yeah, it's so much fun to hear how it shows up for other people. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
cool. Um, so there's I would say we'll start with like meditation types, right? So I do a meditation for like me and my own energy. I
Mhm.
do a meditation for me and connection with guides. And then there's it's even hard to call it a meditation, but a space I go to for the animals. And I do start off with meditation, but sometimes like the energy shifts and I'm like, well, like we're here. Like I don't need to, steps 1 through 10 and now let's do it. No, it's already happening, right? How it shows up, it's all, I want to make sure this is right. Thank you for the question. I think it's all relatively the same
Okay.
for me. So I will hear things, I will see things. Oh, here's where it's a little different. When I'm working with someone with their animal, if it's an emotional thing for them, I could get emotional.
Mm.
So like I was working with a lawyer who worked with animals and it was challenging and she didn't always get the results she wanted and that was upsetting to her. I mean, even sometimes reliving it, like talking about it, like I can feel like the emotion sort of wants to come up and choke me. And I'm just talking about whatever I was talking about relating to this topic, and now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, like just emotional.
Mhm.
And now I have to interpret that for like what's going on, right? And in this case, it was um, for this young lady. What I told her was like other people can stop at 99%, but you can't. Right? You'll feel even worse if you
Mm.
stop it. Like if you see it getting away from you, like the result getting away from you, you can't stop at 99%. You still need to give it 100%, regardless of where you may actually know where the outcome's going to be, because it just doesn't work for
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
And even worse than that, people are watching you. Like you're a mentor to some people. And so if they see you stopping at 99%,
Right.
they're going to stop at 50,
Mm,
right? Because like your bad day is 99. Your lack of showing up is 99%. Their lack of showing up is 50%,
right. Mm-hmm.
right? So you got to give it 100%. You got to be that model for folks. I don't care what the outcome is. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be that model. So, but that type of thing that emotion will can easily show up and pop in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the biggest difference.
Okay. So when you're channeling for animals, like what does that process? So you're doing a meditation essentially to connect with the animal, and then like do you see their spirit guide, or are you just like do you see like an image of the animal, or does their voice just sort of pop in your head? How do you what sort of
Sometimes
Oh, okay. I was gonna
walk you
say
through.
what
Yeah,
cues you into like I'm connected now at this moment.
yeah. So it was almost like how you and I, when we first got on the line together, like there was already something moving,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
like when you sent a text earlier, you're like, I'm running a little late. And I was like, well, like I can feel you coming through the phone,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Not with everyone, right? But for you specifically, I was, oh, yep, okay, yep. I feel her. She's running late. Here we go. Like it's going to happen, but maybe we're delayed a moment, whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of that, almost that intention of when you sent the text,
hmm
right?
Yeah.
That's tied to the communication. So I will get something similar with the animals, like, okay, now I'm going to just clear the deck a little bit and I'm going to pull up, the notes I have and the pictures I have. And even before that happens, like it starts to sort of swirl around. It's almost like if you were to see how a tornado starts, right? You're like, the sky is clear. You start to see something in the distance. You're like, what is that? But imagine if you were feeling that, and then it starts, and then you see it, and you go, oh, now I feel it. Now I really feel it. We're connecting, right? So there's a great deal of intention with the connection, and it starts with the human's connection, the human's intention. I've had folks show up who are more curious of like, how did this happen to you? Like more of a conversation that we were having at the top
hmm
versus wanting the intention of me talking to their critter. And
Okay.
so I've gone in twice with like nothing.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't know, nothing. I didn't get anything. Let's talk about why you wanted to show up for this.
Mhm.
And both it took me two times to realize. And both times it was I was really curious how this happened to you because I've had these weird experiences. Oh, let's use the time to talk about that because that's why you're here. But for other folks, it's the intention that starts to create that connection,
Mhm.
right? So I will just get quiet. I'll typically put these things in my ear. It just sort of blocks things out a bit. I'll close the shade over here and just get quiet. And just like we did at the top, 3 deep breaths. And then either I feel like I need to drop in a little bit more or shake something off, or information will start to show up.
Mhm.
Or, and I mean, it evolves over time, like we said, right? And so sometimes, like with dogs, I'll sort of see them at the back of the yard, and then they sort of run up, and now we're engaged.
Mm.
Cats are a little sneaky, like cats can be, and like you're just like sort of scanning for them, and they're like, oh, it's you're right here. How long have you been here, right? Um,
So their energy's
and
just sitting in front of you almost. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Mhm.
just sort of off to the side, like just looking up and just waiting, just waiting for the connection to happen.
Mhm.
Um, and then my process is I talk to the animals on day one, then I debrief with the human on day two.
Okay.
So I'll sit there and just take notes and close eyes and take notes and close eyes and take notes and then debrief with the human around what I took notes around. But I'll hear things and see things, and it is a conversation.
Mhm.
It's a tell me more about X, or what do you mean by X? And sometimes you'll get more, and sometimes it ends, and then you go, okay, so now we're talking about something different.
Mm. And what types of things do the animals sort of share with you? Like, is there a common theme of things they want their humans to
Yeah, so
know?
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fun. So like remember when I said when Adelita said, and you're going to talk to animals, it's going to be easy for her. I was like, yes, 100%. I never give any thought as to what I would actually be talking about, right?
Right.
And the typical, if we would call it a typical way that things show up, it's here's the sort of a template. There are certainly exceptions, but this is pretty much the template. Is someone will show up with a 3D behavioral problem with their animal.
Okay.
My dog is biting people when I invite people over. My cat peed on the couch and destroyed it. Well, if I get a new couch, well, right, it's a real problem, right? It's terrible when that happens. Well, if I get a new couch, will the cat pee on that one?
Mhm. Right. Fair.
Fair questions, right? And so the first one, and it's sort of the same reading,
Mm,
right? But the first one was tell my dog to stop biting people. Okay, I can't do that. Like you can't tell another sentient being to stop doing a thing. It's their choice.
right.
However,
Mhm.
I promise to ask the questions, and if they answer, I tell you. Sometimes they don't answer. Sometimes they do answer everything and more. But there's always a conversation.
Mhm.
So I tune into this little chihuahua, and the chihuahua says, "You need to ask her about her job." I said, "Okay, why am I asking her about her job?" Because that's what has to change. Oh, okay. So I get her on the line. I get this young lady on the line on Zoom, just like this, and she says, "Did you talk to my dog? Mm-hmm. Did you tell him to stop biting people? Mm-mm. What'd you talk about? What do you do for a living?"
Mhm.
And she goes, "I'm unemployed." I said, "You're not unemployed. How do you make money?" "I'm a private driver, Ubers and limousines." "Okay, well, how's that working out for you?" "Well," and so here it comes. "Well, I have spinal issues and my back is all banged up after driving around for an hour or two. My doctor tells me I shouldn't even be driving around as a driver. It's that painful, right?" And so as we're talking about that, and as I'm sharing what the dog said, I get this quick flash of roses. And I said, "So what do you do with roses?" "Well, I paint roses on vases and I give them away." "Oh, well, let's take a look at the information that's showing up. One is something that drags you down, makes you arguably unhappy, maybe angry based on how you showed up. And the other lights you up,
Mhm.
right? And lights other people up. So these two things in contrast, less of this and more of that, right? And I don't know how to go from A to B. And that's not really not what I'm here for. I'm
Mhm.
here to deliver the information. You get to do whatever you want to do with it.
Mhm.
But, she's like, have the dog stop biting people. Well, let's talk about that specific piece. I don't know if your dog is very bitey. I have no idea, but I will say your dog is feeding off of you and you're showing your anger and frustration, and your dog is simply mirroring that behavior back at you so you see it. It
Oh,
is that simple,
yeah. Wow.
right?
I never really thought about this so much in the sense that like our animals really are, in some sense, at least from what you're describing, like there are spiritual guides in a lot of ways.
100%. So people are like, the buffalo or the eagle or the hawk or like, right?
Mhm.
Well,
Right.
what about Fido? Like, what about that little critter right over here? What
Hmm.
about him?
Yeah. And so would you say and that if this is like pretty commonly like it's almost like the humans coming in with an intention, right? Of like there's a problem, but really
Yes.
it's this animal is looking out for their human, and that tends to be the conversations that you're having. So really it ends up being therapeutic for their owner more so than the animal themselves.
That's it. Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, I will, so I'll talk to the animal, three aspects of the animal. I'll talk to the higher self, the personality, and the body, right? So I'll get any one of those pieces of information. In the body, it would be typically, it'll show me in the body what's going on, right?
Mhm.
Which is a sometimes thing for me. It's a lot of higher self and it's a lot of personality.
Okay.
Higher self, personality, and body in that order for me specifically.
All right.
But yeah, I mean the theme is, which is very San Pedro-y for
Hmm.
my experience, right? Like I'm showing up here, why I want to understand these things, and they're like, "That's adorable. We're not talking about that. This is what you need to know."
That's very true. That's what my spirit
Right?
guide. Yeah. As
Right.
yeah. I
Like, can
love
we talk about the thing? No, we can't. This is what we're talking about today. Oh,
hmm
okay.
this is what you need to know, right? You can
That's
come
right.
with your intentions. And I even say that when I work with my clients, like I always ask them at the front before we even start meditating and call in their guides. I'm like, what is it that you want to ask your guides? And then I say, and is it okay if like there are the things we want to know and sometimes there's the things we need to hear? Are you open to that coming through? Because it's gonna
Mm,
right?
mm-hmm.
And then I'll usually take the first 20 minutes of their session, letting their spirit guide word vomit all over them, essentially, to be like, here's all the things I've been trying to tell you that you've been ignoring.
Great. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So it sounds
Yeah.
almost like perhaps our animals are doing that. Our live animals, so they're, like physical things that we can actually see, hear, and feel are offering that to us as well in some ways and mirroring when we're unaligned, which is so beautiful.
100%.
Oh,
100%. So I mean, so think about it this way. And I got turned on to this podcast a couple weeks ago. Two people in the same week said you should listen to this podcast. Okay. Like the first time I forget about it. The second time I'm going, well, that's weird. And there was very specific episodes. Listen to this one and this one.
mhm.
And they were both about animals.
Mm.
And the podcast is called the Telepathy Tapes.
I knew that's what you were going to say. Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, right?
Everyone's been sending me this podcast for the last
Oh my
few
God.
months. It's such a good one.
Crazy.
Yes.
So good, right? And so the basic premise
Mhm.
is, and this is a little simplified first, is there's a consciousness that everyone, regardless of their physical state, and everything, regardless of your opinion of the things, animals, plants, etc.,
Mhm.
and people, including, and she spends a lot of time on this one, autism,
Awesome.
but
Yeah.
she also goes into coma and she goes into uh,
Yeah.
other types of things, right?
No, I love
Where
the
you,
podcast. I've been listening to it
it's
nonstop.
amazing.
It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you were just to think about it from the perspective of that podcast, which it just lays it out so well,
Mhm.
which is everything has a consciousness, right? These little things running around, the very little things running around, just because they can't speak and just because they don't have thumbs or credit cards, doesn't make them any less aware, doesn't make them any less not able to comprehend what's going on. It just means they can't talk in a
Mhm.
language that we easily understand, right? The talkers, shall we say, right? Which is what the podcast talks about a lot.
Mhm.
But if you were to get away from that, well, and you would assume that they're intelligent creatures, well, how would they communicate? And can you gain access to that? Will they allow you to gain access to that? And
Mhm.
that's where the information is.
Yeah. That's so cool and so beautiful. And I know that in my meager attempts to try and connect with my dog, who, by the way, is he still sitting here on the floor somewhere? He was a minute ago. I don't know where he went. But I definitely have experienced that there at least for me, but maybe it's because I'm predominantly clairvoyant that it's definitely a lot more imagery. And then but then there's also all of the emotion, and I can sense his emotions, and he can let me know how he's feeling at any given time. And
Yeah,
anytime I'm about to meditate and
that's
he,
right.
right, like he needs to be in this room, right? Like he
Yeah,
scratches and bangs down the door. He will, because the energy of whatever I'm calling in feels really, really good to them. And I
yes,
almost wonder if they're even more attuned to those energies than us verbal individuals, such as they said in the telepathy tapes, right? Like these extrasensory beings, if you will, right? People who are
yeah,
more sensitive to extrasensory input, right?
yeah,
Say
yeah.
that.
So my deal is with animals, right? That's the deal I have.
Yeah.
However, similar to what you were describing earlier, like the animals are the gateway,
Mhm.
but whoever they want to let in the door and whatever they want to let in the door comes through the door,
Okay.
right? So I had a client I was talking to, their cat, and then the energy shifted. And I know the feeling of a oh God, I always get the name always goes missing. It's not a poltergeist, not a ghost. Starts with an A. Oh my
Ascended
goodness.
Master,
No, no, different.
Archangel,
Uh, no, no, go lower. Go
go
lower.
lower. Uh, no, I don't know. Spirit guide, loved
It's
one,
a spirit of some kind, not a ghost.
not a ghost. Okay.
The word will
Entity.
come to thank. No, no, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay. I'm out of
Um,
vocab.
but it was a ghost that showed up,
Mhm.
and I said, so. you have a ghost in your house and they're passing through, and I say that because I heard just for a spell.
Mm.
And I was like, who the hell, who the hell says just for a spell? So now I'm on the computer going, like origin of just for a spell. And it's like, it's an older phrase.
Mhm.
Um, it's like, so this thing has been around for a while. I feel terrible calling it a thing. This being has been around for a while in this state, or wasn't, but still carries that language with them.
Yeah.
And he goes, the cat has been staring at the walls lately, like a lot.
Mm.
And meowing at the walls, right? So they can see things
Yeah.
that we can't see, right? Like our hearing, we can only hear so much. We can only see so much.
Yeah.
Our senses are limited, right? Our physical senses are limited.
Yeah. But these,
Not every creature's is.
yeah, they're much more heightened and more attuned in some ways, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a sideways question, but I'm curious on your opinion on this, which is, have you ever heard of the term like familiars, right? This idea of, and like, I guess the best way I could describe it is if you think of like Harry Potter, for example, where like each witch or warlock has like their animal that they work with when they're doing their magic, if you will. And so then in the time of when there was like witches, they would have like their cat or their owl, right? Sort of this idea of, there's animals who work with us when we do our spiritual energy healing type work, right? And maybe they
Yeah.
help magnify the things that we do, or that they are maybe putting us on our path in some way. Curious your opinion on that. If animals maybe come into our lives for a specific reason or to help magnify, accentuate, or propel us into the healing arts, spirituality in some way.
I think so, but I don't think it's limited to that. I don't think it's limited to the topic we have
Okay.
happening right now. I think it could be for the right things for us.
Mm.
Right. And so I'll just use my own personal experience is, before I started my own little digital agency in 2019, September of 2019, I was like, I don't know, like I don't have any clients. Uh I don't know if I want to start an agency or if I don't know if I want to get another job. Where I was at the time was an option.
Mhm.
I was running the company for a little bit and it just wasn't an option. The traffic took a dive and the revenue took a dive, and I was doing math around what's the timeline until I got to fire myself and the young lady who I brought in, right? So
Mhm.
that was the reality of it,
Mhm.
and so I'm trying to figure it out, and I decided I wanted to start my own agency, but I've never done it before, and I have no clients, right? And still like, what am I doing? I had so many red tail hawks showing up, like as I was thinking about what am I going to do, right? And even in the morning that I was going to quit my job, I'm walking into the office and I walk by this little feather and it's pointed towards the door. Right. So there's these little signals that are showing up that, the coincidences, shall we not say, but say, are showing up. And like it was just blatant, just in my face. And this was before animals showed up. This is like, that wasn't a thing. So I do believe they do show up for very specific reasons for guidance for sure. There was only one time I had a client and I was like, oh, spirit animal. Oh, that's fun. Like it just came through
Uh-huh.
as a lion. And now I'm like, I want to make sure I'm giving her what she needs to hear. And I was like, I'm going to send you the information. I have a couple books. I'll send you what it is. But
Mhm.
let's just think about who Lion is in the jungle, right? And the reputation, and she was in a spot at work as well where it wasn't a pleasant experience for her. There were people sort of like scheming around her, not for her benefit. And so the lion showed up, and I said, I don't know why, I don't know how you're supposed to use this, if it's to battle within this organization or is it to step out. And even sometimes when you say those things
Mhm.
and even reliving it, you're like, no, it's to step out,
Mhm.
right? There's an energy around stepping out. There's no energy in stepping into this muddy situation. There's no win there for you. So
Mhm.
step out. Start looking for the doggy door. Start looking for the options.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I guess what you're saying is that it's almost like in some ways you would say whether there are animals or just other animals in the environment, they're acting as guides for us, if you will, and
Absolutely.
pointing us in the right direction, whether it's a spiritual path or not, it's just your aligned path and pointing you towards alignment, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I think it's as easy as the things that you're attuned to.
Hmm.
And sometimes things will show up, like you weren't attuned to it today, now you are tomorrow, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But maybe you went to yoga yesterday and someone said something and it just hits you in a different way than it typically would have,
Hmm.
right? Like sometimes things are said and you just go, oh man, that was like you say that every time I'm here. But for some reason, like that really hit home today. I don't know why, but that's really is the thing today for me. Like you feel it. It comes with the signature,
Yeah.
right? There's a match.
Hmm. Absolutely. I love it. And okay, so I do want to ask you because the audience who listens to this podcast, the thing that we're really, really always at the edge of our seat wanting to know is how can we step a little bit more into our intuition? So for those who want to communicate with their own pets and they want to
Yeah.
enhance their intuitive abilities, what is something, what do you suggest? How can we start to communicate with our own animals at home?
Yeah. So I would say there's three ways. So let's break it down. So the first way is how you're communicating with your animal.
Okay.
Okay. And so there's three aspects to that. There's what you're saying, there's what you're seeing, and there is what you're feeling.
Okay.
And if there's no match, if one of those things are out of sync, there's not a match. So here's how it showed up with the client, which was she shows up and she says, "My dog's not peeing at night. Can you help me out?" Sure.
Okay.
Walk me through what happens during the day. Well, I call the dog over, open the front door, dog goes out, pees, comes back in. Okay, what happens at night? Well, call the dog over. I'm in a nightgown. Maybe that makes a difference. I open the door. I tell the dog to go out, and the dog doesn't go out, just sits there.
Mm.
Okay, well, how do you feel about going out at night? Oh, I'm afraid of it. Oh, fascinating. So, so it's okay for the dog to go out outside at night, but it's not okay for you to go outside at night. Is that, I want to make sure I'm understanding this. Yeah, that's right. So you're saying it, you're seeing it, you're not feeling it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Have you ever had someone give you an apology and they just didn't mean it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Save your words, dude. I don't need to hear them, right? Save them. There's no match. There's no match to it.
Okay.
So, so there's got to be a match,
Okay.
right? And it's got to be clear. So let's take that from another angle. I mean it. I'm saying it. I'm not seeing it. So I have a little boy cat, Chucky. He loves to go on the coffee table. And I say, get off the coffee table. What am I thinking? What am I seeing?
Oh, you're seeing him on the
Coffee table.
in your head.
Seeing him on the coffee table. Where do I want him to go? Go on the little the pink donut that you have,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's sentient. He gets to make a decision or not. And there's also a training thing. Oh, you don't want me on this table? You've been telling me to be on the table this entire time. Why do you think I'm on the table? Right? Now I'm changing the message.
That's so funny. I never thought of it that way. But yeah, you
Super clear.
got to be that
Right.
clear in three ways. Okay. And what about receiving messages? Like, let's say we
Yeah.
don't know, like, are you feeling ill? Is something wrong? Like, something along those lines. How do we get into a place where we can hear what our animals have to say?
Yeah, the easiest way to start is what are they saying about us?
Okay.
Right? Because they come up, they show up in service. That's not to say that they're not communicating something about themselves. However,
Mhm.
it's much easier to look at them and think, is this mirroring or modeling behavior?
Interesting.
Right? So
Okay.
we talked about the young lady and the dog biting people,
Hmm.
right? Well, my little boy cat, he will call me every night, 7, 8 o'clock at night to go play downstairs.
Hmm.
I run a little agency when I'm not talking to animals. I don't have the best relationship with the computer. I'll grind a little too long.
Hmm.
So the lesson there is play,
Ah, gotcha.
right? So you could look at him and go, "Oh, you're just a really young at heart 14-year-old cat who just loves to play all the time."
Hmm.
You could chalk it up to that. You'd be missing something,
Hmm.
but you can chalk it up to that,
Right.
right?
Hmm. Yeah. but it's more an introspective thing. I am so excited about this because I never saw like my animal in this perspective or like pets in this perspective of them really, really being almost our guides, our teachers, and our mirrors in the biggest way. And I mean, how comforting is that to know that these animals that we love so much are loving on us, maybe even more so than we realize, and more so than we're even offering them. Like their whole being
Yeah.
is invested in our well-being. That's
Yes.
so gorgeous.
Yes. Right. I mean, I do think after, certainly after listening to the telepathy tapes and hearing the word talkers, right? I think they use the word talkers.
Yeah.
Like the talkers are the least evolved on the planet.
Hmm.
We happen to make a lot of the rules. We happen to have the thumbs and the credit cards.
Yeah.
You would look at what we've done with those capabilities,
Right. Hmm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's the
So
huge
beautiful.
lesson there. Yeah.
Such a huge lesson. Yeah. And it's so gorgeous. And it's making me rethink my whole relationship with my own dog right now. Definitely gonna go and sit and like have a reflection of like how are your behaviors showing up as mirrors to me. So it can
So
be like
so
a whole
here's the fun part, and then I have one more piece for folks like how do they connect? So here's the
yes.
fun part. So as all this was showing up, right, and I'm trying to learn, I went back to Adelita a few times. She was super helpful,
Hmm.
and at some point in the conversation, she said the phrase. I'm pretty sure she said the phrase, or I said it back. She said non-human communication, and
Hmm.
I was like, wait a minute, like so. I mean, that's not a typical phrase. I said, so how far does this non-human communication go? And she said, anything with a life force.
Ah.
And when she said that, I was like, oh, that explains a couple things. Okay. All right. So back before the animals showed up, this was so fun. I was doing yoga outside with the company that I was talking about earlier.
Hmm.
And it's wrapping up and I'm on the mat and I'm just looking down. We're doing this on grass, on a little grassy spot. And there's this one blade of grass
Oh my God.
that's doing this, right?
Okay.
And I'm staring at it and right and I start less today, but you start in this rational brain
Hmm.
and I'm going, how is the wind just hitting that one piece of that one blade? Like how is that so funny how it's doing that? It's
Hmm.
impossible. It doesn't happen. One blade of grass is moving. No. And then I realized I'm seeing the energy from that one blade of grass, right? And so when she said anything with a life force, oh, the blade of grass, the Christmas tree, the crystals,
Yeah.
uh, like all the things started to just line up in my head and go, oh, the work is with the animals, right? That's where the work is.
Hmm.
But my experience, my relationship with the world, and anything with a life force, oh, that explains it. Okay, got it.
Hmm.
Thanks.
And what did the grass say to you? Did it say anything?
It didn't say anything. It didn't say anything. It didn't say stop walking. It didn't say anything like that.
Okay.
Um, but and sometimes that is the communications, that recognition of the other of that other being over there, right? Like not everyone sees that energy of the grass. Not everyone sees the energy of the hills. But
Right?
when you do, you go, oh, so those like people, those hills are alive. No, really, they are alive.
You really
They
are.
they really are. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of actually, I did a little experiment I posted on Instagram a few weeks ago. There was this trend going on of people walking up to trees and just standing by the branches and saying, "Can you come and touch my face? Come here,
Oh,
little branch,
interesting.
come and touch my face, follow my voice." And so I did it, and I just stood in front of a tree and asked it to touch its branch on my face, and that's what it did. And you can see, like, I'm not moving my arms. They hear you, they can connect with you, and it's so
Absolutely.
wild. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
love that. It's anything with a life force. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool.
So
Yeah.
bring us to point three. You said there was one more point for people who wanted to connect
One
with.
more one more point. Yeah. So when I'm working with folks, once we get the coincidences out of the way, once we get being the channel out of the way,
Mhm.
there's a commitment aspect to it.
Okay.
And it's really simple. It's meditation. That is the thing that that all of us who do this type of work, that is the commonality, is that meditation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, and it's so simple. Like out of like I was like, this can't be this easy. Obstacle, 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 right?
Hmm.
But it's not adding to things, it's removing things
Hmm.
typically, right? It's removing those mental barriers, those emotional barriers, those bad behaviors, those things that bring us down, right? The drama.
Yeah.
And the one thing really to add is a consistent meditation practice, right? Because that's the connection. That's the yes,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So if you were to get a, a membership at a gym and you get a trainer and you say, I'm going to be here every day at 7 a.m., you know what you better do? Be there every day at 7 a.m. to get the results you're looking for. Or else you're going to show up and the trainer's going to go, where were you 5 days in a row?
Mhm.
You said we're going to be here 7 days a week, right? He has something to do.
Mhm.
And if you're not going to show up, he has other things to do.
Mhm.
Same thing. They have other things to do, right? You're making an agreement. Are you showing up or are you not showing up?
Yeah.
What's going on here? There's a relationship you are building. The evolution that we experience is the evolution of that relationship
Mhm.
and the saying yes repeatedly.
Yeah. Yeah. So beautiful. And I 100% agree. You got to practice. It's a muscle and you can't strengthen it if you don't use it,
Totally.
right? And I want to just kind of double click on that just a little bit because a lot of people protest and they say, I'm not good at meditation. I can't meditate. I'm not good at it. I can't shut my thoughts off. And I'm curious what meditation actually looks like for you because there's so many forms of meditation, and sometimes you have to kind of go looking for the form that actually works for you to allow you to get quiet enough to hear those subtle
That's
voices,
right.
right? So I'm
Yeah.
curious what meditation looks like for you, especially when trying to communicate with animals.
Yeah. And I'll say this and I hope people don't go, oh, because you're good at it. No, no. It's because I mean partially, but the other part is there's certain activities that I can do that are not meditation
Mhm.
where I feel quiet.
Right. Absolutely.
And for whatever reason, driving is relaxing to me.
Hmm.
Right? Right? I mean, if that guy cut you off and then words are said, what like that's not relaxing. But largely speaking, just like driving is a relaxing thing. And this was the first time I was going to go talk to someone about their animal. And I pull up to the stoplight and I just started to think about the animal intention. And it
Hmm.
was like 2 weeks out. And it, I get this push. I heard they want me to be something that I'm not. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what it is. Well, it turns out this dog failed all the therapy tests. His breed was to be a therapy dog. Failed all the tests. Wasn't going to be a therapy dog. We want him to be a therapy dog. The kids want to play with him. They throw the ball. He'll fetch once or twice, but that's it. He leans against them, right?
Yeah.
And dad's not over his old dog that passed, so he doesn't even have a relationship with his dog. He's still mourning the other dog,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So wants me to be something that I'm not. Fits
Right.
like a glove, right?
Yeah.
And that came at a moment of stopping at a stoplight because I felt quiet.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Doing dishes, I feel quiet. Sometimes I'll get things doing the dishes. But that's not my going to the gym. That's not my training, right? So there's training days and then there's game days. The training days are the meditation. Every day is the meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And then the game days are the talking to the animals. And so the training days, it's sitting down, taking 3 deep breaths like we did,
Mm-hmm.
dropping into the ground, rooting, lighting the chakras up, opening crown, and feeling the energy run. And as much as possible, not not being there physically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I want to kind of like highlight this a little bit because I do mention this a lot on this podcast of you do have to do whatever it takes to get out of your head and into your body. And I do advocate
Yeah.
that sometimes that can look like, as you said, driving something that can relax your mind so that you're sort of on autopilot, if you will. You're doing the dishes, you're driving, you're hiking, you're walking, whatever.
Yes.
And those can sometimes allow for those less I guess we call them a little bit more random downloads to come through, right? That maybe you're not calling in your guides, but as you said, it's those are sort of like the game day the versus the intention of I'm actually going to go after this and do this. And then it does require a level of a deeper going inward, right? And I also want to zoom into the fact that what you're saying is that there's an idea of opening up your energy centers, this visualization, if you will, of bringing energy from above or from, from another realm or
Yeah,
even just from
that's
outside
right.
you into your body, opening up your energy centers, your chakra system, your crown, your third eye, right? And visualizing that. So people will hear in my meditations all the time, I have you bring energy in from, I send roots down from your feet and then bring energy up from
Yes.
the center of the earth
Yes.
up through your body to almost elevate your the vibration that you're sitting at typically, right? And when you can open
Yeah.
yourself up and change, shift your energy a little bit, shift your vibration, the connection is clearer, if you will.
Yes. At what all that. Yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
talk a very similar language. Yeah, the only thing I will add, and this sounds very self-serving, but it's also true,
Mhm.
is I've worked with people and the homework is go meditate every day and we'll meet next week,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
And if 1 minute feels like a long time, fine, 1 minute. I mean, we're working this,
Yeah.
it's a muscle, we're building it, right?
Yeah.
If 1 minute is the most you can do, all right, we're going to get better at it. We're going to do more.
Yeah.
But if you can just keep on doing it, great. And this is a very typical comment. How'd it go? How'd the meditation go? I don't care about the timing. How'd it go? Did you try to do it? Yes or no?
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And the people who say I did try it, I did do it. They typically come back and they say, but it's not the same as doing it with you.
Ah, people tell
Because
me that all the
because
time. Why?
because because we create the space.
Mm,
We're creating the space, right? And so we are creating the space for them. This is the container. We're creating the space for them until you can do it by yourself.
mhm. Yeah.
And even coming back to do with other folks. Like there's a whole like when we got on the line, it's like, oh, okay, we're doing this. Awesome. This feels great. It's different than doing it by myself,
Right. Yeah.
right?
It's true.
So when you're with someone else who can generate energy, that's a different experience than doing it by yourself and you're like struggling to do it. And the worst thing you can do when you're by yourself struggling to do it is struggle to do it.
Yeah.
And that is the head fake. That
Mhm.
is the head fake of it all. This is so hard to do, and it just got harder because you said this is so hard to do, right? Like you need to just like shed it off as much as possible and
Mhm.
just let it run, let it
Yeah.
float.
Absolutely. So beautiful. And this just sort of popped into my head. So I'm going to add it for listeners is that if you are having that experience of it feels easier when somebody else does the meditation, in my experience, and something that I often teach my private coaching clients is try saying the meditation that I would say out loud to yourself as if someone was dictating it to you, because then it's
That's
as if
great.
someone else is creating that space for you, but you're just saying it out loud. So I find that to be very, very helpful. Even for myself, I'll say my meditation out loud to myself, and that seems to create that
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Right. And so like what feels the most realistic? Is it saying it? Is it seeing it? Is it both? Is it in your head? Like whatever feels like the best way to go and do the thing,
Mhm.
start there.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like, well, what crystal should I get? Well, which one do you like? I want to get the right one. Well, which one do you like?
Yeah.
But is this about liking it? I look at all the little cards and all the things. I don't give a shit about that. Which one do you like? Which one are you
Right.
being called to?
Right. What
You
does
get
your
that
gut
one.
tell you?
Yes.
Right.
Right. Right. Right. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. I do have one other question for you, and then I know we're getting close to time here, but I'm curious if, your channeling sort of stops at animal mediumship, or if you are able to sort of when you do connect, are you also even if it's not for clients, even maybe just for yourself, like are you getting messages from loved ones? Are you connecting with spirit guides? Are you having experiences with beings from other realms? And what's that been like for you?
Yes. So, and the word I was banging my head against earlier to get is apparition is the word.
Ah, yes. It did start with an A. You're right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just goes missing all the time. Apparition. And so my deal is the animals,
Hmm.
right? But from a work, so the work, we'll call it, not my experience, not my relationship with the world. My
Hmm.
work is with the animals, largely, I would say. And then they open the door for whoever to come in. Apparitions. I should get a tattoo. Apparitions. Um, Apparitions have come through. Living cats have brought past cats through. There was a couple weeks ago. I said, my request was if it works for whoever I'm talking to at whatever point, I would love to have the experience of talking to a human who's passed.
Yeah.
And and I had someone's father come through
Mm.
and and validated. Like, here's what they said. Like, does that mean something? It does. Yeah. And here's another thing. Does that mean something? It does. Okay, great. Nice. Like, and so that was super cool.
Yeah.
There was an instance where I talked to an alien and that was one and it was hard. It was hard for me to do. And like I didn't feel like I was getting the connection that I wanted, and I heard the word relax, and this is a lesson for everyone. Like, I did the opposite thing that I should have done, and I was like, relax, okay, get really serious with this meditation, right? Like, that's what you do. You get serious with it. And I tightened up, and I heard, get a tutor. Like, I got from the alien, like, if you want to learn to talk to aliens, get a tutor.
Yeah.
Um,
They
which
have fun
was
personalities, don't they?
super trippy, so fun, yeah, so fun. So the world and the Christmas tree, I wasn't kidding when I said the Christmas tree. Like, I sat down to meditate one day and the Christmas tree showed up. So we're like, the where we live, we're part of an HOA, homeowners association.
Yeah.
It could be very frustrating.
Okay.
And and I sent an email like the week before, just not feeling good. Right. I
Hmm.
was really controlling my emotions, and people were lying, and I was just like, oh, like, this has to be said. And I didn't like how I felt.
Hmm.
And so I'm meditating in my usual spot, and it's Christmas time. And I start to pick up the Christmas tree. And I'm scanning the Christmas tree. And then I got to the roots. And I was like, God, those roots are so deep. Like, that's crazy. Like that, like, you're literally cut off at the trunk. And like, how does that happen?
Mm.
And what I heard back was, you are who you are, regardless of the situation. Which for me was like, you want to be emotional and feel that way, you get to do that. That is a choice. That
Mm.
is a choice. And I believe that's why I mean, the timing was there. That's why the Christmas tree showed up. It's like, you want to be like this, or do you not want to be like this? Because you did that. You created that. You sent that email. You had those feelings. Those were yours. Like, own that shit, right? Get to be whoever you want,
Wise,
regardless of the situation.
wise tree.
Oh my God. And I'm like, you've been here for a month? Like, like, you've been here for a month. Oh, I guess you had something to say this time. Okay. So
Wow.
that is the world of animals and how they show up largely, well, with the exception of the Christmas tree. And
Yeah.
then there's, bringing crystals, and I still call them rocks, right? I just think it's fun. Brought some crystals back from Sedona when we went out there a couple of years ago, and the house was just like, I felt like I smoked pot for like 4 days. Like, it was just so much going on in the house, just a
Mm.
lot.
Yeah.
Hiking and seeing the snake paths and seeing the energy from the snake. Like, there's certain things, and random feelings of the dog at Home Depot, simply because I acknowledged the dog and the dog acknowledged me back, right? Like,
Mm.
it's interesting how things will just show up in your world.
Yeah.
It's like there's a chef and he makes these meals at the restaurant, but at home they're making these what they want to create. Like, they have a different same relationship, also different relationship with food, right?
Yeah.
It's cool. It's fun.
It's very cool because it sounds like even in a lot of your experiences, in some ways, it almost feels like the whole world, in some ways, is conspiring to help you and to bring you into alignment and to mirror your energy to help bring you back to your higher self. And I'm like, we think that like, okay, yeah, our guides are doing that because they're assigned to us, whatever. We don't like to think that like maybe everything in our reality is actually trying to help get us back to become our highest selves, right?
Yeah, I,
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. And I feel like the faster, or the more you go down this path, the faster those corrections come.
Yeah. Yeah. And apparently everything is watching and talking to you.
Yeah.
Really, everything around you has something to share and mirror back to you. And I mean, I know that all of the big manifestation gurus are saying that, like, you live the reality you project, right? But there's something more to be said about the fact that your whole reality is really a fabrication of your inner world. And like it can be, you can then receive it from the outside in as well. So just so
I
crazy.
mean, this is not an academic exercise. This is
Mhm.
experiential, right? You can
Absolutely.
read about it and you can study it, and it's fun, right? It's cool, and like it's almost like studying or reading about sci-fi, right? Oh,
Yeah.
that place over there that you can never go visit. Well, maybe you can, and because you certainly can here, right?
Yeah.
And then you get to experience it.
Right.
And everyone's experience is different. We all do it differently. We all
Right.
have to figure it out, right? Like I used to drink beer, not had didn't have a problem with alcohol, but I used to love beer. And then all of a sudden, I drank beer, and the animals went missing for a week.
Oh,
I just
wow.
right. So
That's
I can't do that anymore. I
mm,
just stopped drinking alcohol.
yeah.
It wasn't worth it to me.
Yeah.
So, but other people may be able to drink alcohol, but I can't, right? So maybe you can,
No,
right?
I can't. I actually I advocate for that a lot on this podcast. It does affect your intuition in a big way. I can't drink
Brings you
coffee,
down.
I can't drink alcohol. I can't even eat sugar because any of it, my body's so sensitive that it affects my ability to connect. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
100%. Alcohol is a big one that inhibits for sure. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, so, so cool. Well, Nick, this has really been such a beautiful and inspiring and eye-opening conversation. I did want to ask you one last thing, which is there anything that I didn't get a chance to, that I asked, didn't get a chance to ask you that you wish that you could share with the listeners? Yeah.
I don't think anything new, but I would say for anyone who has gotten this far,
Mhm.
if you're still listening, um, there are so many tools out there, right? If it's not me and it's not animals, great. If it's me and it's animals, great. If it's yoga, great. If it's not yoga, great. If it's Reiki, great. Like there's so many tools.
Yeah.
Like go find one, whatever that instinct of like is. Like use your instinct of like. What about this crystal? I don't know. I'm reading it. I don't, it's red, it's green. I don't care. Whichever one you like start there. Go follow it because everyone can do this. Some version of this is available for everyone. Absolutely. Just because I'm saying I talk to the Christmas tree doesn't mean that's far fetched for you. Like you're going to have your own weird thing that happens. People come to me now and go, I got to tell you about the furniture. Tell me about the furniture. Tells me things. Great, right? Like, and it's a serious conversation, right?
Yeah,
Because this person really appreciated the furniture. It makes sense for that person to have an
right.
experience with the furniture. So go do it. Step into it. And it's not like this. It doesn't go like this. It doesn't go, I experienced a thing, now I believe it. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Turn that around.
Yeah.
You got to believe it, and then things start to show up.
Yeah. Sometimes it requires a little leap of faith, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Ah, so, so beautiful. Well, again, this has been so amazing and beautiful and inspiring. And I think so many of our listeners are going to want to connect with you. So, where can everybody find you and connect with you if they want to work with you a little bit more?
Yeah, thanks. They can go to mycatschooledme.com. That's the website. That's also the Instagram handle at mycatschooledme.
Mhm.
Yeah, reach out, follow me, however you like to engage online, let me know. I'd love to
Okay,
chat.
awesome. Yeah. And Nick offers readings for animals, but also you do one-on-one coaching, correct?
I do. Yeah, for folks who are, and I offer it because there are things that worked for me. And those are the things that I help people through. I introduce them to. And I find it really easy, certainly at this stage of my life, that when I want to learn something and it's challenging, like work with someone directly. Like you fast track your learnings. It's so much different than, and books are great. YouTube is great. Yes, yes, yes. And work with someone who can go, no, 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 don't do that. Do this. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Having a mentor, it can just fast put you in the fast track, right? So much faster
Yes.
to get to a place. So amazing.
Yeah.
And Nick has been so generous to offer our listeners a coupon code if you want to work with him. So we're gonna put that and link it up in the show notes. What did we say it was?
Yeah. We said, I'm looking at it right now. It's Jessica and it's for 15%.
Okay,
Yes,
so for 15% off, guys, you can go and have him do a reading for your beautiful animals at home. So thank you for offering that. All of the links will be in the show notes if you want to find him. Otherwise, thank you so much, Nick. It's been a
I
pleasure.
got you. Thank you, Jessica.